There was no wedding, but now we have aftermath. This is episodes 2 and 3 of 4 Weddings and a Funeral here at AfterBuzz TV.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, AfterBuzzers!
What's up?
Yo, it is your girl, Nikki Bailey. I'm sitting here chilling with my boy, Eric Sinsley.
What's good?
Marielle is out this week, but she will be back. We are talking about episodes 2 and 3 of 4 Weddings and a Funeral. You guys, there is so much to get into. I'm freaking out. How are we going to do it all in 45 minutes? It's okay.
Well, can I first just say I'm glad that you're still sitting here because about 10 minutes ago, I taught you what an aspiration was. Because
I did almost just choke on my own saliva. Thank you.
So
I'm a professional, though. Got it worked out before we went live, so.
It could have been, God forbid, 4 weddings and 2 funerals.
Thanks for saving my life, Eric.
Of course, I got you.
So tell me, okay, we watched these 2 episodes. What are your overall thoughts? I mean, we have a lot to cover. We don't want to go too hard.
Okay, so here's the deal. The cheesiness and the clichéness has definitely kicked in. We'll get into some of the nasty feedback that's all over the internet. But for me, I have accepted the fact that, and I'm taking this show for what it is, and I'm starting to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I've come to peace with this is not going to be an intense thinking show. But eventually, I think that you guys will get drawn into the characters and their storylines. And
I'm going to agree with you. I feel like I get where they're going with some of the critique, and we'll talk about that. But I love romantic comedies. I love all of the beauty and the cliche of all of the rom-com comedy stuff in the show. And I think if you can maybe not take it that seriously and understand that it's a comedy.
Yes.
Then you could enjoy. It's so enjoyable. I don't understand what people aren't enjoying. I mean, first of all, let's actually get into it because last week, the last episode, Kash left Ainsley at the altar. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Ainsley. We're gonna do it by character because, guys, there's so much happening. Okay, so Ainsley.
Well, the episode 2 started out with the slap at the altar.
Punched him dead in his face, which he deserved.
Yeah, so I don't know. As we talk further into what happened in the episode and when Kash finally decides to explain himself, I had more respect for him.
Okay, I'll give you that. I thought that, Ainsley's response, of course, was a rom-com response to a terrible, tragic breakup. What I loved about the last part of the wedding scene that we saw in this episode is that the organist is a total asshole. Like, the organist was playing, like, doomsday music and then actually played Here Comes the Bride as she's leaving.
Yes.
Like, that was just so... I'm like, that's hilarious. But what I love is, like, she's doing the typical, like, sobbing mess after a breakup thing, and her girls are there helping her, to get things cleaned up. But here's what I want to know. Maya's there with her. She has to know on some level that the reason Kash left Ainsley at the altar was because of Maya, like at least some part of her.
Yes.
Would you say anything? I asked this question last week. Would you have said, if you were Maya, would you have said to Ainsley, all right, I just want to, like, full disclosure now, since things are over with you and Kash, he was the guy I met in the airport. Would you tell her?
I would hold off just a little bit longer, and we will go into our cliches, but have you seen Sex and the City, the movie?
Of course.
So this is what that is.
Totes.
So,
yeah, 100%.
And when Charlotte is saying to Miranda, don't say anything yet, just wait. That was what was going through my head. And so I think it's almost time for Maya... Well, I don't know, because do you say something once your friend is starting to get over the initial shock of what just went down, or do you say something while they're still upset so they can grieve both things?
I would say something, and I said this before. I would have said something when I met Kash, but I also, after the wedding, would have said, hey, that's the guy I met in the airport, because I would want her to get all of the anger and the angst out at the beginning. Like, just get it all in there, girl. you about to be toe up over this situation, and I'm
yes.
gonna help you really realize the toe uppedness by telling you about the fact that he's the guy I met in the airport. I think that what I am enjoying still the Gemma versus Maya situation, and I love that Gemma decides that she's going to help by doing all of the thank you notes because she has a master's degree in calligraphy.
Yes. And then Maya has been designated
To go to Hounslow, yeah.
Yep, and give Kash's belongings back. But it was only one box worth because the rest was donated.
You gotta
Except
love
the
it.
shampoo. She
Except
kept the shampoo.
I get that. They say that your olfactory sense is connected to memory. And so I understand why she would have wanted to keep the thing that smelled like him. Let's talk while we're in the Ainsley section. Let's talk about Ainsley at work.
Okay, when she walks in and she said the bitch is back.
The bitch is back,
'Cause
looking
that's-
first.
Yep, that was her entrance.
And she has the two Tonys who work for her, which the two Tonys need their own show.
Tony 1 and Tony 2.
Tony 1 and Tony 2, I just need to watch them alone. Like, I don't even need, of course, you know, you got your quintessential gay friends in the show, but because there's got to be in a rom-com a gay friend. But I loved them both. I thought they were incredibly well dressed. But you know, Ainsley might have been a little too premature for her to go back to work. What do you think?
Well, I was first excited to find out what her job was. She
right.
is an interior designer, Ainsley Howard Designs, and it kind of makes sense. And seeing Tony 1 and Tony 2, her two sidekicks.
They were great. I love them.
And then, you know, they're sitting on the couch, and I forget which Tony it was, but I think it was Tony 2, and he was asking her, well, what did you even like about Kash?
Right.
And she gave pretty stoic, generic
Really
answers.
kind of superficial answers, you know? Like, nothing about him as a man or as a person, which works in terms of consistency because the things that she liked about him were the things that he put on or pretended to be. So, yeah, interesting.
And my heart did go out to Ainsley when the two newlywed couple walked in, and then they disclosed that they're having a baby.
Bless her heart.
And then that's when she goes back in tears. And so
that's just too much. Ainsley, girl, we feel for you. But we're going to move on and talk about Craig. I will always say Craig like they did on, what was the movie with the guys who smoked weed? A Friday. Craig.
I haven't seen that. Oh, shoot.
Your homework is to go watch Friday this week.
Okay.
Anyway, Craig.
I'll go along with it.
Craig is still with Zara at this point, and Zara says, you know, like, where are you going? We're supposed to have a teeth whitening session.
Well, and what she said, hey, Alexa, what's on the calendar? And the teeth whitening, then go through Craig's wallet.
Yes.
She's like, no. And then,
If you were Craig, would you have would you have paused at that?
No.
No?
No. I think the way that Zara, is it Zara or Zara? We're saying Zara.
Zara.
Like the store. Okay, so the way she represents herself and portrays herself as a millennial who's like all into Instagram and fashion and teeth whitening. So I think going through the wallet could just kind of fall
Be part
under
of the character that she is, part of what he accepts about her. Yeah. But he doesn't go. He gives her an excuse, but he goes actually to watch Molly play ball again and is met by Molly's mom, Julia, who is kind of like mad at him. She's like, why are you watching the kids? I only wanted to get your medical information. I don't really want you involved in her life. Here, sign these documents that completely give away any of your parental rights.
So they meet at the art museum, and Julia had said, you know, I left you a message 5 years ago to tell you that I was pregnant, and you never responded. So
and I feel
to hell with you.
Yeah, and which is terrible. Like, I think you should call more than once when you're pregnant with somebody's baby.
Yes.
Right?
When she said that, or he said that she thought that it was for them to get back together. That's why he thought she had called. But even so, like, you know, just...
Right.
I don't know. It was...
That's so weird. Like, it was like it was like, what kind of course you keep trying to get in touch with them if you're pregnant. Like, so that, I didn't buy that moment, because I was like, really? He didn't return one phone call and you decide to not tell him that he has a kid? That's messed up. And then she gives him just until Monday, basically a couple of days, to make a decision about whether he wants to sign away his parental rights.
Yeah.
I was hoping that he said no. I was hoping that he wasn't going to do it.
Well, and then he did sign the papers and said, I would not be a great dad.
No, he said that he would be a great dad.
But then didn't he say that he was selfish or?
He said a bunch of bad things, but then he also said some cool things.
Okay.
I think. I could be wrong. Maybe I just want Craig to be a daddy. And
a daddy?
a daddy.
Okay.
So I don't know. Julia was kind of like mean, and I don't like her. But the most important thing is that Zara, who is suspicious now of Craig and Maya, Zara starts to ask some questions. She says, to Duffy, like, don't you ever think maybe? Mm-hmm. Which of course triggers Duffy. And then she sees Maya and Craig hug at the game night.
Yes.
And she's like certain.
She's convinced.
Yeah, that they're having an affair. Confronts him in the museum, which you gotta love. Zara has like some very good spy technique. How did she end up in, she's at the museum, he never saw her. She's good. You gotta give Zara credit.
Right.
But what did you think of their breakup and what happened between them?
Well, I think more the breakup, we'll see more in episode 3.
Oh, did I skip ahead?
Well,
Yeah, because in this episode she says to him, this is not a real relationship.
Right.
She says, you told Maya before you told me.
Right, and he's trying to get a hold of her and no response.
What do you feel like? I feel like that's a very real relationship thing. Who do you confide in? Do you confide in your partner or your best friend if they're two different people?
Well, I think she was also really bummed about not knowing about Molly, because Zara had found out that Craig had disclosed all this information about the daughter to friends. So I would be upset.
Yeah, I think I would be too. Something that huge. And you want to kind of write Zara off as stupid. I don't think she's stupid. I think she just values different things, and I think it's really emotionally intelligent of her to know that that the fact that he told his friend and not her first was really important. I do love her couple name for them. Zrag.
Mm-hmm.
Zrag.
Okay.
Zrag.
So you're for them.
I do. I like them. I'm shipping Zara and Craig.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they need to be together, and we'll get into the 3rd episode in a minute and talk about that.
Yeah, that was
It's okay. I'm all right. Eric. It's okay. Let's talk about Duffy, because Duffy.
I think before we talk about Duffy, I think we should shout out to our AfterBuzzers.
We should.
So before we get into Mr. Duffy, we just wanted to thank you guys so much for making us the ESPN of TV talk. For us to continue to grow, we could really, really use your help. If you're on YouTube right now, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And if you're on iTunes, please, please, please give us that 5-star rating. But no matter where you are, leave us a comment. We love to engage with you guys. Get the convo rolling. Being a part of AfterBuzz TV means so much to all of us, and we truly, truly appreciate you guys supporting us. And we love you guys.
We do. You guys make this so much fun for us, so we're so glad you're with us to talk about Duffy.
Mr. Duffy.
The Duffster.
Mr. Duffy got some kahunas and asked out a girl.
But only after.
True.
So first, okay, you guys watched it, but we're just going to tell you. So Duff gets asked out by someone named, I couldn't tell if her name was Tabby or Debbie. Tabby. So Tabby, the French teacher, asked him out. He's completely oblivious, doesn't get that she's asking him out, because he's still hung up on Maya. But then when they go to game night and he sees Maya and Craig hug, he's thinking, what the heck?
Yeah.
And then he asked Craig about it after ruining a perfectly good plate of nachos. Duff.
You should have known, Duff.
I'm just saying, you don't treat the nachos that way.
Yeah.
Do you think... I agree with Craig. I think it's time for Duffy to let go of the Maya crush.
Yeah, I think that was what he needed to see.
Yeah.
As sad as it may have been for him. And maybe give him that push to open some other doors, such as Miss Tabby.
Yeah. Have you ever had one of those long-term crushes, like unrequited love crush? You ever have one of those?
Yeah, and you're just holding on for something,
Yeah.
something to happen. And I think at a certain point of that long lust, you need a friend to just
Tell you to snap out of
yeah,
it.
you got to hear it.
Agreed. Yeah, for those of you who are on that whole like unrequited love tip right now, stop it. Okay, this is a little advice from me to you. If they are not showing you signs that they're into you, they're not into you. Okay, so move on.
Because you're just going to end up hurting yourself.
You're going to hurt yourself, and you're going to waste your life pining over someone who's not into you.
Yep.
So either tell them about it, confront them and move on, or let that stuff go, because, life is short, Joel. That is my advice for the Duffys of the world. Duffy, who wrote a novel...
That's
episode 3. Mm-hmm. Sorry. But I love that he does realize he needs to let go of Maya, and he goes back and asks Tabby out.
Yep.
And learned conversational French for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was adorable.
That was a good move.
I agree. That was a ball. Like, I would go out with you if you learned.
You go, Duffy.
Yeah, Duffy, you're adorable. Okay, so now, let's talk about Maya. Maya, girl. I have so much to say to you.
So, Maya...
Do you talk to the characters? I talk to... Black people, we talk to the screen. We can't help ourselves. It's cultural.
I actually did catch myself.
Did you?
I predicting what was going to happen. You kind of feel what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Which makes the show that much more enjoyable.
I agree.
And easy to watch.
Because it's so many rom-com cliches that you can't help but know what's going to happen next. Mm-hmm. So, of course, we think Maya's going to go back to New York City on Monday, and Ainsley's like, no, stay, restart your life here. Mm-hmm. But then Maya starts getting texts from Ted.
Mr. Ted.
Douchebag.
Ted, doucher. Ted flies to London. Well, he's texting her saying, can we meet up for coffee or something? And she says, you a-hole. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm in London. And he says, well, so am I. And then Ainsley somehow finds out. So
because she does tell her, Maya does tell Ainsley that Ted reached out. And she does say, I'm going to meet with him. Remember, there's the whole game night thing where they're trying to convince, they all, all of their clues for charades were about Ted.
Yeah.
Which
I wanted to point that out, that they did use a Harvey Weinstein.
They did.
What did you think about that? Real quick.
I don't care. I'm like
did you? I mean, it was relevant.
It was totally relevant. I noticed it, but I have to say, I was like, I'm a little over the Me Too jokes at this point.
Me too.
I feel like
I'm glad you said that first. I mean, I think it's very important, and Mindy is all for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was seen as like it kind of just went like this, but it did stand out a little bit.
Yeah, it seemed like it was I don't want to say it wasn't out of character for the show, but it was like, why do we have to do that? Why do we have to go there? Mm-hmm. Like, and look, I'm a woman in America, and I live and work in Hollywood. All that stuff's important, but also, I'm so tired of it. So like, can I just watch my rom-com and not have to deal with it? Mm-hmm. All that to say, hashtag Me Too, very important. Anyway, yes. So what did you think of? So she got all dressed up. I loved that Ainsley was like
with the push-up bra.
And I love Ainsley was like, no, you're wearing a push-up bra. Let me squeeze your boob.
Yeah. Let me feel it.
That's so real. Women do that all the time. So she looked amazing. She goes to meet Ted.
And it is not Ted. Lo and behold, it is
Liz, Ted's wife. Oh, what? And Liz is not here to play. She's like, look, I thought we were on a vacation to reignite our romance, but he's texting you. Mm-hmm. Stay away from my man. Mm-hmm. And she's not even all hung up on the dude. She's like, I'm trying to ride this marriage out until the kids is grown so I can get this money. So back up. Mm-hmm. I got really code switchy right there. But like that.
And the quote was, don't F another woman's husband and don't build your life around a man. So it was like a jab, but then it was like, you're young.
Yeah.
Like, you're smart. Go
and
live
she
your
said,
life.
yeah, she said, look, you're probably like this is more his fault than yours. Because again, the power dynamic there was he was her boss, so like she's right in a lot of respects. I thought it was great advice, and I think Maya took it to heart, like I think that she heard it and was like, wait, are you right? Maybe I need to go sit on a bench by the river in the rain with a red umbrella
And write a letter.
and write a letter.
And rip it up and throw it in the
throw
river.
it in the ocean. And then a cop will be like, oi, why are you throwing rubbish in the river?
What's rubbish?
Rubbish.
Rubbish.
Oi, why are you throwing rubbish in the river? I can't do that.
Just
Whatever.
because I don't have a gun doesn't mean I'm a real cop.
I love that. That was awesome. I forget from time to time that this is set in London just because all the four main characters have American accents. Mm-hmm. So that when there's a very British moment, I'm like delighted. That cop was hilarious.
Those are the little lines that make the show funny too.
Agreed.
It adds to the humor.
Agreed. We didn't talk about the fact that Maya went to Cash's house to drop off Cash's stuff. Ended up watching a TV show with Kash and his family.
And they all seem to bond over
that. They bonded. The little brother is hilarious. Mm-hmm. I love this kid. And he's like, you're really my type.
Yeah.
But obviously Maya and Kash really bond even over watching that show together. Like they both knew all the answers and all that stuff. So I don't know. I want to ship Maya and Kash.
I think we'll find out next week.
Yeah.
Where it's going to go.
I hope so. I don't know. We'll see. So one other thing we want to just, while we're still on episode 2, we're going to just go over really quickly. Maya actually does decide to stay in London, mm-hmm. which Gemma's not happy about. Mm-hmm. And tries to remind her of all the things that are bad about London.
Yes, that was awesome.
What about Brexit? Like she's like
the rain. It's raining more than usual.
Yeah, she's like, where's a great place to get a fresh start? Brazil.
Yeah, that's how the episode concluded, right?
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious and adorable. I don't know. I feel like I like Kash a lot. But he was a douche. And you're right, he did go back. So let's talk about Kash. He goes back to Ainsley mm-hmm. and says, is that in this episode? Or am I pushing it again? I think that, yes, Kash comes to explain, and he says, I spent my life trying to be the man that my family wanted me to be, and I wasn't the man that I wanted to be. And so who you got to experience was not the real me. And she was like, well, I really liked that guy. Yeah. And I wanted to marry that guy. Yeah. But I feel like by that point, she had already gotten to a place where she was like, you know what? It wasn't what I thought it was anyway.
Yeah. I mean, she hands him the shampoo.
Yeah, yeah.
So that says it all right there.
Yeah. All right.
But when Fix You by Coldplay started to play.
Wait, no. Wait, hold up. Press pause, because we're going to do that in the special segment. That's one of my favorites.
Okay. I was about to start singing. That song was in my bar mitzvah video, by the way.
Was it?
Yep.
All right, we're going to come back to all of this.
Okay.
So let's move on to episode 3, entitled We Broke.
Wait, but real quick, because
Yes.
I feel like this is very important.
Sure.
Because it ends when Kash sees Maya on the street,
Mm-hmm.
and Kash is just saying, I just owed an explanation to Ainsley. And Maya says, yeah, but you don't owe me one.
Right.
And then walks away. Proceed on.
Yeah. And we're going to come back to the song and that moment because, guys. Episode 3, entitled We Broke, opens with Ainsley and Maya coming in from a wonderful day of shopping to discover Ainsley Mama,
Mrs. Howard,
played by the lovely Andie MacDowell, sitting on the couch.
Well, she went on Ainsley's honeymoon.
They went on her honeymoon, her and her dad, and her dad, obviously doesn't do well with exotic foods like rice. Mm-hmm. That made me holler.
Yes. Yeah, and we find out that Ainsley's mom pays for her townhome, pays for the rent of her store, and she wants her to move home.
Yeah. And if she doesn't move home, Mama is cutting Miss Ainsley off. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to tell y'all what. I'm not saying I'm broke. I'm not saying I'm a broke. I'm not saying I'm a broke. But yeah. If I had parents who were paying for my life, if they wanted me to move back home, I'd move back home for a little
100%.
while. Because you know what? It's rough out here.
The Hollywood hustle right now I'm feeling it.
Okay.
So I would have choked on my food too.
Okay. It's a hurt piece out here in these real streets on that money tip. Okay. So, Ainsley, go home, boo. You got parents willing to take care of you. Go home.
Yeah, and it's right down the street.
I'm just saying.
And it's right outside your store.
And it's not forever. And it's New York, right? Is that where they lived? I don't remember.
Oh, I don't know if
I don't know.
I thought they were in London.
I don't know if we hear where Ainsley's family lives. But whatever. Ainsley, you should go home.
But
Anyway.
I thought she said it's right by the store.
No.
Right by the shop
meaning,
of the dad.
She said she called later and she said, "Oh, I found a spot for your
Yes.
for your
Yes,
shop,
yes,
and it's
yes.
right near your dad's job, and you guys could ride to work together."
And then she chokes.
And then she God
chokes like
bless
Miss
her.
Doubtfire.
She did. It's also an exact replica of an episode of 30 Rock, which we'll get back to. So I loved that Ainsley's like now like, no, I'm gonna figure it out. Like, and she and Maya are like, yeah, you'll get a job and I'll make my business happen.
Mm-hmm.
So Ainsley goes to go meet with Craig, who's her financial advisor, and she's of course dolled up, looking amazing because she'd have to run into Kash while she was there.
Because Craig and Kash
share an office. And while Ainsley is trying to figure out what to do about her money situation, she, in the process, stands Gemma up for their tennis match.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that Gemma, by herself, is confronted with these incredibly hoity-toity, snotty
Snobs.
bitch women.
Yes.
Who are making all kinds of jokes that are like related to dog stuff, but you don't know why until later. We find out that Gemma's dad started a dog food company,
Yes.
and that the rich snobby people don't like Gemma because she's not old money.
Yes. What was the pedigree comment someone made?
I don't know.
That was a good line.
There were some really good ones. They were really just the meanest of mean girls I've almost ever seen. But Ainsley ends up standing Gemma up multiple times in this episode.
Dress shopping.
Yeah.
And the tennis.
And you're like, okay, sure, Ainsley's going through some stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think going through stuff entitles you to stand up your friends, do you?
That's a big one. That's a tough one. She's going through a lot. I mean, she just
But she could have sent
up.
a text.
Yes. Acknowledgement is always key.
Yeah, just let somebody know if you're not going to be around. You
Yes.
know, that's just mean. And poor Gemma, I mean, she's not literally poor because she's actually quite rich, but
Wealthy Gemma.
unfortunate wealthy Gemma is like really upset that her friend keeps standing her up, and her husband Quint
Steps it up.
Quint is the delight. I feel like Gemma, Quint, and Cash's little brother are my favorite characters, I think.
Quentin.
Quentin
right?
is her
Quentin.
husband's name.
Yes.
And he steps up and he's like, you know what? I'm going to go and do all the stuff with you that Ainsley would have done with you. And he ends up going to get a manicure and they go shopping.
Butt sculpting.
Butt sculpting. What is butt sculpting? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Did you just clench your butt
Yeah,
to try
just
to figure
trying
it
to fill
out?
it out.
You guys, if you're not watching this, if you're just listening, Eric literally like
I'm
clenched
trying to
his...
sculpt over here, all right? Trying to get on Quentin's level.
So Eric will have a well sculpted behind by the time the show is
By
over.
episode 7, all right? I'll do it before and after.
But Ainsley is like, she is sorry, but she's also not paying much attention. But the choking, when she choked on her food, I feel like that was an awakening for her, right?
Yep, because Billie Eilish pops in, Bad Girl, and she finally goes up to her 2 Tonys.
And she lets one of them go. Yeah, yeah.
Because while she was choking, Tony
was
1 was outside
vaping. And in a beautiful suit. But I love the Tonys. I legit wrote, I love the Tonys in my notes because I think they're so great. But then, so she's kind of getting her life back now. She's getting back on track. She lets go of one of the Tonys. She keeps the good Tony. She feels like she's sort of regaining her footing, but then Quentin comes over and says, you need to bend the knee. He says, bend the knee.
Yes.
Go talk to my wife. Apologize, because I am not doing this girl day stuff anymore.
Yes. He's like, I just got my nails done. My butt is sore. And get your butt over there. Go talk to my wife. This conversation did not happen. Goodbye.
Yeah. Quentin's a good husband. I mean, he's kind of, you know, rich and weirdly vapid, but also just kind. Like, he did all of her...
But is he doing that because he feels bad, or he's doing it because he doesn't want to deal with her?
I feel like, for instance, I feel like he did all the thank you notes for her to be nice.
Yes.
I mean, also, he didn't want to go to the party, but he did them to be nice, and they probably weren't done well because apparently they smelled like scotch. But, like, but I think he was just trying to be a good guy. And then, you know, and then the whole going out on the date for the day, you know, going out for the girl day with her. I think he truly loves her. Because in the speech that he gave to Ainsley, he was like, you know, here are the things that she does for me, and I don't deserve that.
Yeah.
Like, but I think that's a good level of self-awareness for this guy. And so, like, I liked that he did that. So, okay. So we've talked about Ainsley. Let's talk a little bit about Maya. Maya, who's now looking for a job, who used to be the speechwriter for Ted the Senator back in New York, decides she's going to stay in London, but she needs to find a job. The only interview she can get is with this dude named Andrew Aldridge, who is, like, gay, but, like log cabin gay, you know, like conservative gay.
And,
oxymoron
and
much?
he calls her out for sleeping with Ted.
And he does it in a way that is completely disgusting, but also kind of cool. I don't know. I felt like it was kind of well done. Like, he's like, I'm just trying to figure out if you're successful because of your talent and skill, or if you're successful because you slept with your boss. Ew. But also,
And so she steps up, she stands up and walks out.
Yeah, she walks out, which you gotta respect the dignity. And then she goes and she finds out that Gemma and her husband know this guy that she's really interested in, Pierce Nighthall, who is a more progressive guy. And so she wants to meet with him. So she goes to the gym. She gets a day pass to go to the club, and she gets to meet him. And she introduces herself. He wants to interview her. She goes for the interview. What did you think? Did you think the handshake meant anything?
The one where he grabs her arm?
When he grabs her arm?
No. But I think that she was so psyched out from what had happened previously that she was just she was keeping her headlights on, and she was being aware. But then later, when she does end up getting the job, and he puts his hand
on the small of her back.
Yes, and kind of holds it there, and then that kind of unraveled.
I agree. I feel like...
That's when I thought, okay.
I feel like that the hand on the back was too far. But I think I would have kept the job, because he tried to be like, no, that was just a pat. She had to push it and find out a little bit more, but I would have kept that job, girl. And and always in my mind, I'd be like, remember the time you put your hand on my back?
Right, but then he said something about the sports bra.
He did. After she quit. After she actually had legitimately quit. Okay. He said, well, you showed up with us. You introduced yourself to me with a sports bra on. What did you think I was going to think? Men.
But maybe...
Had she introduced herself to him buck naked, it still don't mean she want to sleep with him.
Yes.
So, #me too. Okay?
But good for Maya for standing up for herself.
Absolutely. And then she goes back to Aldridge, and and she's like, here's why you should hire me. But he's already hired the other dude, who is, I can't remember his name, the actor's name, but he's also in another series. His name was
Marcus in the
show.
In the show.
But the actor is also in another show called Fleabag, another British comedy called Fleabag. Watch it. Okay. So good. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing that actor again, because I love him in Fleabag.
Yeah.
So she goes back to Aldridge. He says, I'll hire both of you, but you're both going to be at half salary.
Which she was pretty stoked about, and Marcus obviously, I'm sure, was
Is not. Yeah. But I think it gives her a chance to prove herself. You know, she walks into a situation where she's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to prove myself instead of, you know, the assumptions that people are making. So, Maya, let's go on to Craig. Craig. Zara has not called him in a week. He is like, what is up with her? He doesn't know. He's like, why? What am I doing? Is she gonna, like, you know, whatever? Finally, she texts. She says, I want to see you. I'm gonna come over tomorrow. He buys a giant bouquet of flowers. He comes home, and there's a letter from Zara
on the pillow,
in a pink envelope, and we got to see a flashback of her writing it. And every word of it was completely cliche and also wonderful. I loved it.
Yeah, she's like, my eyes are really foggy because I'm crying, but also because of my colored contacts. I thought that was genius.
I love Zara. I think she's hilarious. That
And
was
then
awesome. She takes her
the painting.
portrait. I
Yes.
loved that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but I thought that was a really funny moment. But also, like, I think it's a wonderful revealing thing about Zara, but also I think we're going to find out what Craig is really made of, you know, like what's really important to him. And because we're running low on time, let's rush in.
We got to hit Kash.
We have to get we have to hit Kash, but we have to talk about Duffy and his book too.
Oh, yes.
So Duffy goes on the date with Tabby, allows her to read his 1,400-page novel.
Which is about cod fishing?
I didn't understand. I just was stuck on the 1,400 pages. I like a good long book, but come on, dude, that's ridiculous. And she gives him honest critique, and she says it's not great, but there are 20 pages that are beautiful.
Yeah, she said
And
that the protagonist masturbates too often.
Yeah, you know, that's a big critique in many novels. But but I love that he was really hurt about it, but then when he talks to his friends, he finds out that they never even read the book. And so he goes back, apologizes to Tabby, asks her to help him convert those 20 pages into a short story. I think that's going to be good for Duffy.
Well, and you're leaving out the kiss.
Oh,
the big
cute
kiss.
Yeah. Duffy and Tabby kiss, and then the kids at the school are like, and she's like, I'll give you all detention.
Yes. And then they go back to
it.
kissing.
And I do love that all the friends got together and they did a stage reading of Duffy's book.
Yeah, that was great.
And that's where where Craig ends up telling them that, you know, Zara actually broke up with him because he starts to cry.
And he also revealed to everyone else except
that
for
he
Maya.
has a kid.
Yep.
Yeah, he tells everybody about that. So that was a big revelation for the friend group. But we have to talk about Kash because we had been thinking when we started the show that we were going to talk about the 4 main characters each episode. But now we're finding out Kash has got his life of his own. So we got to get into it. First of all, Kash is trying to quit his job to be an actor. Don't do it, boo-boo. Don't. I'm out here in these actor streets. It's too hard. Your boss offered you a 35% raise. Take it. Don't quit your job. Don't quit your day job, boo. Don't.
See, I'm on the other...
Really?
Yeah. He wants to be an actor.
That's great. We live in a city where everyone wants to be an actor.
I know.
And so to me, I'm like, dude, keep your day job, make your money.
Yes.
But it turns out he goes for an audition and he's not sure how he's doing. Look, we all have that experience. You go for an audition, you're not sure how to feel about it. You leave, you're like, I hate my life. Why am I doing this? I suck. And then he gets a callback. Woohoo! But he can't go to the callback because Kash's daddy, who has diabetes, obviously hasn't been feeling well lately, and he collapses in the kitchen, and his little brother finds him. They have to go to the emergency room. I adore Kash's little brother. I adore Kash's family. I want to hang out with them and eat dinner with them.
So he misses the callback. Because he's at the hospital.
And he has to make the decision to stay at his job because he has to take care of his family.
Yeah, because Kash's dad says, you know, I don't know how I'm going to pay for... What's the little brother's name? I can't, like, every time I think I have it, I hear something different. And then when I look for his name in the IMDb, I can't find him. So I don't know. But Kash's little brother is adorable. And And so Kash's dad ends up saying, I can't work less in order to get better because I have to put clothes on your little brot's back.
And Kash is like, no, I'm going to take care of you guys. That's what you got to do for family. God bless them. So then the show ends with Gemma, who's feeling good. You know, her husband did this lovely girl day with her, and then her best friend apologized. She comes in and she's like talking to her husband, who she thinks is just passed out on the bed
With the scotch, the
with
empty
with
scotch.
the empty scotch, and the, you know, and she's surprised, and we all are, that Quentin is dead. We think. I mean, he looks like he's dead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna get into predictions, but
Yeah. So let's do that. Let's talk about news first, and then we'll do.
okay.
Yes. Well, let's do some news.
Okay. So I do have two very interesting news articles. I'm only going to do one, but basically the first one is basically saying that Kash, and I can't think of his actor's name, but anyways, he did not watch the movie prior to the show. He watched it right before they watched it growing up, or his mom would watch it growing up as he was growing up, and he ends up forgetting what the movie is about, and he did that intentionally.
That's
So,
cool.
anyways, just a little interesting fact.
Yeah.
But basically, you guys, there has been many poor reviews online, lots of backlash about this show, and so I just wanted to go through it really quickly. From this woman named Margaret Jones. She works for the New York Times, and I want to hear your thoughts. But basically, she says that this show is lifeless. A sneeze could destroy the entire series. The show is dreary and predictable. She talks about what a rom-com should be, saying that there's a sense of inevitability and that it's all about the journey and not the destination. And she basically compares it to the movie, which we have learned that it's a twist on the movie. She talks about how the Mindy Project is clever and Four Weddings is not, because of course Mindy Kaling is in charge of this project. And we forgot to talk about Fix You, but she did
No, we're
say,
getting back to it.
Okay,
Yeah.
we are. So basically some comparative differences that were listed in the article. I want to know, basically just tell me if you agree or disagree. You don't have to give me an explanation. No one has anything in common.
Disagree.
No chemistry.
Disagree.
Inevitable couple seems like a bad match.
Disagree.
No two characters seem like they are on the same show.
Disagree.
Rarely any conflict.
Disagree.
None of the characters have any weight.
I don't even know what that means, but disagree.
I know. Wanting to publish a short story in the New Yorker does not make you interesting.
Disagree.
Living off your parents' largesse ungratefully is not adorable.
All right, I'll agree with that.
Okay, so there are lots more, but
What's her name again?
Her name is Margaret Jones.
Margaret, I think you're missing the point of the show,
I
boo-boo.
think a lot of the critics are.
Yeah, I think the point of the show is to do a rom-com that makes fun of rom-coms. And so it's supposed to be a rom-com that takes it, that's making fun of rom-coms. I don't even know, which is why it's so funny that it's so cliche. So for instance, our special segment for this after show is our favorite rom-com cliches from the show.
Yes.
Because that's the joke. The joke is that Mindy Kaling is known for being a major rom-com fan.
Mm-hmm.
All of the characters that she's ever played have been, if you've read her books, she loves romantic comedies. And I think this is a really great way to make fun of them and to do it in a way, though, that still makes you love them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, Margaret, you missed the point.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about our favorite cliches. This is going to be our special segment every week, every episode that we talk about. My favorite cliches, rom-com cliches from this episode are Ainsley choking, which was an exact replica of a scene from 30 Rock where Liz Lemon chokes on a piece of meat, and the Fix You song.
Yes.
So we talked about this for a second. When the song Fix You comes on, I legitimately, in the trailer watching it, went, ugh!
I did the same thing, and then I said, lights will guide you home. Yeah, see?
It's a terribly singable song.
It terribly works.
It's so singable, and it's so romantic comedy cliche. Like every romantic, like the whole point of that song is for it to be used in a cliche romantic moment in a movie or TV show.
Mm-hmm.
That is the whole entire point of the show. Of that song. My other favorite cliche moment was when she was holding the red umbrella sitting on the bench, writing in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
Who does that?
Yep.
But the red umbrella, totally a rom-com-y thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the fact that that's the joke, and we're here for it. Predictions. We got 30 seconds.
Well, I want to give my
Oh, I'm
cliche
sorry.
real quick.
Yes.
I'll just give one. Episode 3 was all Coyote Ugly.
Ooh!
With Kash having to take care of the dad and being worried about how he's eating and worrying that he's going to end up in the hospital and that he does end up in the hospital.
Oh!
Yes.
Didn't even think about. I haven't watched that in years.
Yep.
But yes, Eric. Do not play with Eric Sinsley, people.
On it. I got it.
He is about it. Predictions. Real, like 2 seconds.
Oh, I don't know. Gemma's husband. I think he's gone.
Yeah. So this is gonna. We've already had one wedding. This is gonna be our funeral, and I think that something awesome is gonna happen between Duffy and Tabby, and I think that Craig and Zara are not gonna get back together.
Wow. Okay.
Did I drop a bomb?
Dropped it.
Anyway, guys, we love that we got to spend this time with you. We will be back here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific to talk about episodes 4 and 5.
Yep.
And Eric, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on all social media platforms at Eric Sinsley.
And you can find me on all the social medias at Nikki Bailey _. We will see you guys next week.
Good night,
Buzz
guys.
you later.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.